Good evening and welcome to the January 20th, 2026 City of Clawson Council meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order, and we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance for those who wish to join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we have words of inspiration from Pastor Ramsey Fakori from Grace Apostolic Church.
That is remarkable. You got it right 2 out of 2 times.
I want the record to show.
Yeah,
I said a name right twice.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, good evening. It's great. I was kind of high honor to be before this city council. It's an honor to be back to back, which is also great, and I'm very thankful for it. In honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I'd like to read a couple of inspiring quotes from him, as well as one of his favorite passages of Scripture. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." He also went on to say that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. His favorite portion, one of his favorite portions of Scripture is one that many know. It's found in Psalms 23, and it says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. For surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Let us pray. Lord, we thank you tonight. We thank you for this city. We thank you for freedom. We thank you for all that you've already done. I pray your blessings, Lord, over the city of Clawson. I pray your wisdom, Lord, over each and every one that's here. I pray your blessing and your favor, Lord, in all things. Bless each and every one that's here, and we thank you, Lord, for all that you've done. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Next item is roll call, please.
Mayor Moffett.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Here.
Councilmember Peltman.
Here.
Councilmember Rinkovich.
Here.
Councilmember Slawinski.
Here.
Councilmember Spisak.
Present.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Here.
Excellent. Our next item is approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Just the regular agenda.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong page. Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any conversation? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yes.
Councilmember Peltman.
Yes.
Councilmember Rinkovich.
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski.
Yes.
Councilmember Spisak.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Mayor Moffett.
Yes. Excellent. Our next item is public comment for items on the agenda. We invite anyone present who would like to come and speak about items on the agenda to come forward. We ask that you indicate if you're a resident of Clawson or someone visiting our fair city. We will give you 4 minutes to speak. And just as a reminder, it's not a back and forth, but if you do ask a question about anything on the agenda, we'll make a note and try and address it when that agenda item comes up. Having said all of that, is there anyone here wishing? There we go.
Good evening. Jamie Gills, Takanochi, Clawson resident. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm speaking tonight regarding the legal analysis on the agenda, item 9F. I think, yeah, F. I'm urging Council not to receive and file this document. Receive and file is a formal act signaling that Council accepts a document as sufficient. I'm asking you to do the opposite, discuss this item openly. You previously requested this information. Sorry. I was trying to get it closer to my face because I couldn't tell if it was on. You previously requested this information be provided on letterhead, which it is not. But simply putting a memo on letterhead does not turn it into a certified legal opinion. This document remains fundamentally incomplete because it fails to certify compliance with the 7-day public disclosure rule, MCL 15.323, and the Michigan Constitution's prohibition on the gift of public funds. Furthermore, this analysis fails to address the standards of conduct for public officers under MCL 15.3423. A public officer is required to use personnel service resources solely in accordance with prescribed procedures and not for personal gain. The city manager initiated this addendum and entered negotiations with the city attorney without a public directive from this council. By utilizing the city attorney to negotiate a personal contract extension without your authorization, the manager was not acting in his official capacity, but as an individual utilizing public resources for private benefits. By filing this, you are accepting political cover while leaving us taxpayers with zero legal protection. The need for independent oversight is even more urgent because of a new discovery I recently made while reviewing city records. I found that the addendum in October 2023, which was another major contract extension, was negotiated and voted on the same night. Again, completely bypassing the mandatory 7-day review, and again was not done with a directive from council. This proves that the procedural failures we are now seeing is part of a long-standing pattern of bypassing council authority and state law. This council was likely unaware of the 2023 lapse, but now that this evidence is on the record, you have a duty to investigate it. You cannot rely on this analysis from the same office that facilitated these past violations. I have 3 asks. Do not receive and file this item. Openly discuss the lack of negotiation authority and the new evidence from 2023. Direct the city attorney to provide a signed formal opinion of legality that specifically addresses the 2023 and 2025 violations, the Constitution, and all resident concerns sent via email and here at public comment. And third, hire outside counsel to conduct a full audit of these contracts. A city is only as strong as its council's commitment to holding all officials to the rule of law and exercising their duty regarding fiduciary responsibility and oversight. I thank you for your time and your thoughtfulness. Now I'll see if I can get that back to me. Okay.
Excellent.
So for the next person, it's really weird, sorry.
All right. Anyone else who would like to speak to items on the agenda? Seeing no one getting up and approaching the microphone, we can move on to proclamations and presentations. For that, we have the introduction, administration, and the oath of office for new patrol officer Robert Gilliott.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight Clawson's newest police officer, Officer Robert Gilliott. Officer Gilliott is an Army veteran who served our country proudly for 4 years. He is a graduate of Birmingham Seaholm High School and Western Michigan University, where he obtained his bachelor's degree. He is comes to us with over 15 years law enforcement experience, working both for the Detroit Police Department and the Dearborn Police Department. So we are very excited to get another experienced police officer to add to our force. He's also a very proud dad and soon-to-be husband. And I ask that you welcome him to our community, and he's ready to take his formal oath of office.
And Michelle, you're going to come up and administer that. If the family wants to come up, take pictures, however you want to surround and support your person. Yeah.
right and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of the state,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
in and for the City of Clawson,
in and for the City of Clawson,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
and State of Michigan,
and State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome to the administration.
Do you want to grab some pictures?
Thank you. Come on, Lincoln, come here, bud.
Get out of the way. Thank you very much and welcome. All right. The next item on the agenda is consideration of approving the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on Tuesday, January 6, 2026 as presented, minutes of the joint city council/school board meeting held on Monday, January 12, 2026, and the list of bills in the amount of $2,396.67.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Pelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Rikovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yes.
All right. We have just approved the consent agenda, and we'll now move on to item 9A, which is consideration of the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 796 to amend the City of Clawson Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Article 10, Section 3.1.j and 3.1.k to reduce some rear setbacks in the CC and CMD districts, and Section 5.1 to permit front yard parking in specific parts of the CMD district.
I move the second reading of the ordinance 796 to amend the City of Clawson Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Article 10, Sections 3.1J and 3.1K to reduce some rear setbacks in the CC and CMD districts, and Section 5.1 to prevent front yard parking in specific parts of the CMD district be approved and adopted. Support.
All right, this is our second go-around, Mr. Nick.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, again, this is a second reading from an ordinance amendment that was first presented during the last meeting. In short, this ordinance amendment includes a reduction of the rear yard setback in the city center and CMD district, and this is our core downtown around 14 Mile and Main Street, from 10 feet to 5 feet. And just to note that there is still the rear yard setback of 30 feet is maintained if the property is a single-family or residential district. That's one of the amendments included in this, and then the other one is more of a cleanup of conflicting ordinance language that would allow parking in the front yard setback of the CMD district, which is just in the area along 14 Mile east of Main Street. And that concludes the ordinance amendment. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
I just have one real quick. There haven't been any property owners or businesses that have raised any concerns, right? I didn't ask that before. Have there been any concerns about any of these changes?
So with the rear yard setback, there's been a couple different developments that have come in that have had to apply for a variance just to kind of maintain their existing building footprint. And so this should hopefully mitigate having to go through that process for an existing structure. It's kind of tedious, but the way our ordinance is written required them to do so. And then with the rear yard setback, we've had a little bit of discussions about there's a vacant parcel on 14 Mile. The property owners have shown a little bit of interest in developing that. But it's something that's been on our radar for a while just because of the conflicting language. And we wanted to include it on something instead of just have that be its own item since it wasn't something immediate or urgent.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Rikovich,
Yes.
Counselor Slawinski,
Yes.
Counselor Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Pelton.
Yes.
All right, we have just approved the second reading of ordinance, the amendments to Ordinance 796 as presented. All right, agenda item 9B is consideration of renewing the professional services agreement with Cross Connection Control Program Inspection for exterior residential reporting and management services by and between the City of Clawson and HydroCorp, Inc.
Madam Mayor, I move to renew the professional service agreement for the exterior residential cross-connection control program inspection, reporting, and management services by and between the City of Clawson and HydroCare Incorporated for a term of 5 years with a total contract amount of $104,097 and be approved and presented.
Support.
Mr. Riker, you want to tell us the story?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cross-connection control is mandated by the state. Cross-connection control is a program to help prevent contamination of drinking water by identifying and eliminating potential links, cross-connections, between the safe public water supply and non-potable sources. Our current contracts are 2-year contracts with HydroCorp. The non-residential contract expired December 1st, 2025, and the residential contract will expire on March 1st, 2026. The non-residential contract has a slight decrease, less than 1%, in average annual cost, and the residential has a 35.67% decrease in average annual cost. Our experience working with HydroCorp has been extremely professional. All of our surrounding communities use them, and we believe it is in our best interest to continue this partnership. Due to the decrease in cost and state requirement for these services, we recommend approving the contract with HydroCorp. Trevor Zablocki, DPW Superintendent, will be present if there are any questions.
Mr. Zablocki. Did I say right? Zablocki, right? Yes. Okay, good. I'm just curious, in this day and age, why did the price go down?
I would say it's because we went from 2 years to 5.
Oh, okay, so they gave us that, so we didn't go to 5 because it went down because we went to 5.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And I chose to go with 5 because this isn't going away. And it made sense to up it, and, well, that also helps that drove the price down.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilmember Tinlin?
So is that locked into the contract language? There will
Yes.
be no increase to fees?
It's broken down in the contract per year what it's going to cost.
And no inflation clause or anything
Nope,
like that?
that's
So it's a set
built in.
rate for 5 years?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So can we talk a little bit about how HydroCorp is paid through the city? It looked like there's fees, is it general fund, how does that work? It looked like there was like fees that are collected?
We paid
inspection. Okay, and then I was wondering what Sue said too, so it's the discount from the 2-year to the 5-year. I had a couple more in here too. Has there ever been any compliance failures, audit issues, performance issues under the current contract? It didn't look like there was.
Nope.
And then I think Tinlin asked my other question about the terms and fee structures. It sounds like everything's locked in if we're moving to the 5-year, so I'm good.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Rinkovic, right? I'm getting everybody's name.
Rinkovic.
Rinkovic. I'm getting everyone's name
Very
right
close.
today. All right, to my right, any questions this way?
Who, come on back. Who determined, I think they are they hand out the check valves for your exterior faucets, right? Is that part of their thing? Who determines how many times they, inspect? Is it an annual basis? Is that by the state? Or is that they're telling us how many times they'll be coming out?
By the state. It's
Okay.
annual.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilmember Peltonen? Nope. All right, roll call, please.
Counselor Slawinski,
Yes.
Counselor Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Pelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Rinkovic.
Yes.
All right, we have just approved to renew the professional services agreement for the exterior non-residential cross-connection control program. And we move on to our next agenda item, 9C, which is consideration of renewing the professional services for the cross-connection control program inspection for non-residential reporting and management services for, by, and between the City of Clawson and HydroCorp, Inc.
Madam Mayor, I move to renew the professional service agreement for the non-residential cross-connection control program inspection, reporting, and management services for by and between the City of Clawson and HydroCorp, Inc. for a term of 5 years with a total contract amount of $88,033.80 be approved and presented.
Support.
Do you want to read the same thing again, or?
No, ma'am, I'll just point out that the non-residential contract, this has a slight decrease of less than 1%.
Okay. So story's the same, but are there any questions? Any questions? You want to make them come up again? All right. Hearing no questions, if we could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Spisak.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke. Yes. Councilmember Peltman.
Yes.
Councilmember Rinkovich.
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski.
That's everybody. So we have approved renewing the professional service agreement for non-residential cross-connection control program with HydroCorp. Moving on to item 9D, this is consideration of a proposal for FY 2026 goals and objectives facilitated by Vitrino Consulting Group.
Madam Mayor, I move that the proposal for FY 2026 goals and objectives facilitation by Veterano Consulting be approved as presented.
Second.
Alec, I'm sorry, Councilmember
Second.
Spisak, yep, okay, good. All right, Mr. Ricker, you want to tell
Yes,
the
ma'am.
story?
Vitrano Consulting has conducted 2 brief training sessions with City Council and introduced the possibility of facilitation of goals and objectives for the upcoming fiscal year. This attached proposal, along with James Vitrano's contact information, was provided to Council within the City Manager's Friday feedback emailed on January 8th. This was provided so members of Council could have access to further explore this opportunity with James directly and informally. The cost for his services is $3,960 lump sum for the scope of work provided and $180 an hour for any services beyond the scope. Professional services such as this were planned and budgeted for in this current fiscal year since we knew there would be at least 2 new council members.
And I see we have the gentleman here. Do you want to come on up? So I have a question first, and then I'll open it up for questions of my colleagues here. But can you give me an example of like when the $180 would come into play?
For a contract like this, probably wouldn't.
Okay.
If for some reason during the goals and objectives session or you were to say, we would really like you to provide additional information and research a subject, maybe a subject comes up regarding a specific service you're interested in providing or specific knowledge you wish to acquire by me doing research on other communities. If I were to do a report and bring that back to you, that would be an additional service. I'm stretching because for something like this where there's a known date, a known outcome, a known timeline, there would be very few instances where I could come up with additional costs.
So everything you can sort of conceive of that we would bring to you is going to be covered under the scope of work, but if I say, please, identify the number of unicorns that have been in place in 2025 in Oakland County, that would be something that would be...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, I've done several goals and objectives. Some communities call them advances, some communities call them retreats. They're usually in just before the budget session. I don't think I've ever had a beyond scope on one of those projects.
Okay, all right, good enough. All right, and I will go to my left, Councilmember Tinlin.
I always have fun. This is my favorite thing I do in my private sector job is goals and objectives. So when you're saying you're going to be a facilitator, what's that scenario? Is it going to be an active council meeting like this? Is it a work session? How does that work?
The way that I would envision it, the session's owned by the council, so however you would provide direction, but usually the process I go through is it would be more of an informal setting. I know you have a community room in the back. Ideally, you would maybe do it in that space. I'm not sure about your technology in terms of making sure the public can be there, but it would be a round table type of discussion. It would definitely include individual conversations with each council member in advance of the goals and objective session to understand your priorities. Likely would also provide some requests for some feedback, some priorities each of you are thinking about that I could bring together, review in advance, and then bring to that goals and objectives so that we could have a working meeting with that information in advance. Throughout that period, we would work towards identifying priorities that this council would have, particularly for your administration or the city manager, because there's not a lot of time to have those types of open discussions. In addition to working with city council, in that way I would work with the city manager in his office to understand his priorities as he goes into the budget session and make sure that those are presented in a way that city council can have dialogue with him, so that he had the goal of him then leaving that session, or after I do a report of the session, that the budget he prepares for your review and consideration, or the budget sessions you have for your review and consideration, it would have thought of the priorities that you would bring in advance. So the day of is the facilitation, but most of my work is actually in gathering your and the city manager's items that you want to bring to the meeting. Sorry for the extended answer.
No, that's good. So the short version is you have a pre-work activity with all the councilmen or council members. Is that a format in any way? It's just on a blank sheet of paper. Do you have some guidance, language around that? Also definitions around goal and objectives if they haven't done this before, right? And some guiding stuff to help them fill those forms out? Yeah.
Thank you. The conversation, to be honest, is quite informal to start. It would be a phone call and it'd be very informal. I would have my questions, but mostly to understand your personal goals. If I do, and likely would do, a survey form, it would have defined terms and would have defined questions to try and format both policy goals, project goals that you would want included in the discussion.
And I guess my last question, is facilitation kind of considered best practice in councils, especially if we have new members? Or how does other municipalities do that?
Yeah, and I'll remove the caveat of new members.
Yeah.
I just did one for your neighboring city this past Saturday, and it was the 5th I've done with them for 5 years in a row. Some new council members, some not new members. It's a practice that I think a lot of cities find valuable, particularly because it allows you to have informal conversations about really important policy matters before you bring it into the budget. So it is definitely a best practice for all councils to consider these types of pre-budget workshops.
And you remain a neutral facilitator, correct?
Yes, if I don't have the trust of the elected body as well as the manager, or I'm seen and biased by one party or the other, it simply won't work. I don't bring any value then. Otherwise, you should have an internal person do it if that's a concern.
I personally did that on one council, so that's a rougher to be a facilitator as an elected official.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all my questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Spishak.
I got none.
Councilmember Zelinski.
No questions.
Councilmember Rajkovic.
Not so much questions. I just want to say I think in terms of facilitation, I see value in this, especially as a first year. I see you as like a bridge between council and the city manager as we head into budget season. Just making sure we have clarity of scope and facilitation of alignment. And not council training. I guess I see council training more as Michigan Municipal League, in my opinion, for elected officials. But in this regard, I'm in support of this. So I appreciate you being here and for this offer. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Peltonen.
Well, no, I was going to ask your question about the when does $180.
Sorry, still no more questions. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
No questions, just a statement. I think it's a good investment, the lump sum, good investment in the city, and to give us a direction. So I'm very much in support of, spending this money to do this.
Yes, I'm super excited about it as well. So I'm looking forward to the process. If there's no other discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Tinlin?
Yes.
Mayor Moffett?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke?
Yes.
Councilmember Peltman?
Yes.
Councilmember Rinkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fischak?
Yes.
All right, we have just approved the proposal for the FY 2026 Goals and Objectives Facilitation by Vitrino Consulting Group, so that is awesome. Our next item is 9E, which is consideration of a discussion regarding the city attorney's review of the City Council 2020 rules and procedures. Can I have a motion?
I move to discuss on the city attorney's review of the City Council 2020 rules and procedures.
Second.
All right, this item was put on the agenda at my request, and I had, and it was actually one of the suggestions Mr. Vitrino said that we should all take a look at the rules and procedures as part of the new council. So I had asked Mr. Nushai if he would review. There was a working document back in 2020, but it was never approved. So this comes from, and I had asked about this back on the December 2nd, 2025. So how does, I have a bunch of thoughts, but I'd like to hear everybody else's first. So let's start this way first. Councilmember Peltonen, do you have some thoughts you'd like to share?
I do. So I actually just rewatched the 2020 meeting to see how it went again, because I was wondering if it did get resolved or did get signed in. But the two things that I was kind of focused on was the one that you, Madam Mayor, talked about a lot, the study sessions, with the beginning, possibly having study sessions at 6:30 before meetings. I just think that could be seen as being unnecessary because for transparency and, we can just discuss it all at the meetings. And then my other thought was the order of business. I think we could just remove the words of inspiration completely, just because I saw it was intended to be not an invocation and some words of inspiration, but it's still the same prayer, and I think we would be fine with not having anything in that place. I've seen a lot of other cities do that as well. So.
Mr. Nushai, since we're having a discussion, what's the best way, Councilmember Peltonen just mentioned about the 6:30 study sessions things. I tend to concur. Should we stop and get a consensus, or should we make a motion to have that removed, or how do we get the modifications to this document moved forward?
I imagine, since you're having a conversation, Madam Mayor, I'm prepared to take copious notes based on the document, and where we see some consensus developing among all of you, I would bring that back to you. We never intended this document to be a document that you voted on tonight.
Right.
But I imagine there would be a lot of back and forth, or at least, questions, concerns. So I'm taking copious notes. If you would just alert us to, yep, sounds about right, and that's the way probably to go about it. With respect to study sessions, if you notice on the item, which is number 6, thank you, it proceeds with study sessions, comma, when called. Right? So this is to give you the opportunity, the ability to do so. It's not to foreclose the opportunity, or at least that's how it was designed early on. That's how it remains today.
But even if it wasn't, even if it wasn't in here, if we wanted to have a study section, we could still vote on one, right?
Well, and remember, Madam Mayor, Council has a lot of this already exists, right?
Right,
In our
right.
Code of Ordinances and Charter. With respect to words of inspiration, we have that listed in the Code of Ordinances. We have an ordinance that lists out the order of business.
Right.
Right. So making a change here, for example, you would have to make a change with respect to that item specifically. You'd have to make a change in the ordinance specifically that mentions it. Right. We wouldn't be able to affect it by way of the rules of procedure.
So this is more of like our handbook, more than any rules. Mr. Riker, you had something you wanted to share?
Yes, I'm just curious, is like how nuanced or different is a workshop from from the one you were just mentioning? I'm sorry. Study session. The difference between the two, they seem like they're almost the same. Except one might be a little bit more standing as opposed to, but they both seem optional. In my time since I've been here, we've had workshops. We have for the budget. And we have not had a study session termed as such.
And I think what Councilmember Peltonen was, because I was the one like having a fit over it or whatever, but I think the concern is 6:30 gatherings in general before the 7:30 council meeting are difficult for the community to make a plan for, difficult for us to make a plan for. So workshops usually are scheduled like a regular thing, right?
We have done a workshop for budget purposes in advance. Like, I want to say there was something that, hey, let's address this before. And we did have, I want to say, one workshop in advance of a council meeting, just because it was a tool that was it fit everyone's schedule, and it was a tool that was available, and we used it.
And I was traveling that time. I think I missed that one. Yeah.
Might be correct.
But so I think if there's, and as everyone comes and has their comment, they can comment that. But I think that Mr. Newshire might be right. We leave it in here because we'd have to vote on it anyhow. And if we don't want it, we don't ever have to vote for one. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I was looking at it kind of like at any time you could be called in at 6:30, and it's just like, no, I don't.
Right. So do you feel comfortable now with the explanation? This is just a handbook? And,
yes.
Okay, cool. All right, anything else?
No.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
I had quite a few things here. The first one that I noticed was under the workshop section. It says there will be no public comment at workshop meetings unless the mayor and council so choose. Why isn't there public comment in that? I'd like to see a public comment section, and then I go on to find somewhere in here where it says there was conflicting. One sec, sorry. If you continue on to meeting procedure, all regular, special, study session, workshops, and joint meetings of the city council shall be open to the public, and citizens shall have a reasonable opportunity to be heard under such rules and regulations as the council may prescribe. So I guess that seems conflicting, and there should be a public comment at workshops.
And obviously the initial portion of it, you're absolutely correct. Council can make the determination with respect to its rules and procedures, and you can certainly do that. Ordinarily, the reason why, certainly in 2020, as to why this was listed this way with respect to shops was because, they're not meetings where council makes determinations. There's no motions, you're not passing, you're just learning, you're engaging in different fashion. You're not making, there's no outcomes. As a result, because we don't have that, rule of thumb is you don't have to have you don't have to be bogged down by, so to speak, by a public comment. But it's entirely your pleasure. That's why it says you can certainly allow it. And if you wanted to, and if the body wished to make it just as a matter of course, we always allow it, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, in my opinion, I think there should be a section where the public can speak. That's just my opinion. There's, 6 others that have to have a say, but I'd like to see that at workshops.
You said you had a bunch. What else you got? Oh.
Did he have his hand?
Yeah.
No, go ahead. You had a bunch.
Oh, okay.
Something came to mind. I was like, raise my hand.
Let's see. You hit on some of them. This is more of like a clerical thing, Michelle. The roll call vote section, it says rules say alphabetical rotation, and right now we start with, I think, mayor, pro tem, and then council, correct? Is that how we do it right now?
It's alphabetical.
Is it?
Yeah, and then it
And
then shifts each one.
On me,
That's how the
sorry.
alphabet works.
Sorry. Disregard. That'd be hard.
That's why there's that song.
And then there's a section under citizen participation. where it says something about removing language limiting comments to new information.
Can I, just because I'm trying to follow you, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, where are you looking at? What's the
Sorry,
number?
citizen participation, section 7.
Yes.
Under persons addressing the council.
Yes.
So it says the council may, in its discretion, limit public comments to new information or matters not fully addressed at any previous meeting regarding the agenda item at issue. It seems like that's limiting speech on its content a little bit. So I was wondering what that comment in there is for.
Well, so the rules say, and the rules, I mean, Robert's Rules of Order, is that comments with respect to anything that all of you, the 7 of you do, and anything that the council, that the public speaks to, have to be germane to the issue at hand, right? And one of the ways that we speak to germaneness is with respect to items on the agenda. Council separates it in 2 ways. Items on the agenda, germane to those issues, right? And I suppose while you're addressing a topic, you can veer somewhat, but Robert's rules say you cannot veer too far to where it's unrecognizable to the topic. Same thing then with items not on the agenda. There's some more latitude. Council has given more latitude there because you're not tying them to anything. But I imagine council would say that, and Robert's rules would support a statement that says that if you come in for items not on the agenda, and you want to talk to this body about what's happening in scenic Troy, Michigan, that would not be germane, right? Even though we have no limitation. Right? So Robert's rule would work in that direction. So that's where that comes from, and that's sort of the idea.
Okay. So I guess I was going to ask about the, not on the agenda versus on the agenda. So legally speaking, you're saying if the council determines a topic it was on the agenda and it's being spoken on, not, you can point of order that and.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And you've been a rather peaceful bunch, but we used to do a lot of that.
I remember.
Okay, thank you for the clarification there. And then there was something about, in the same section, about the mayor, council members can bring up a point of order in regard to false information and direct it to the parliamentarian for a response. Who we just determine false information? Is that how the?
A point of order is broadly available to each and every single one of you, right? And we don't necessarily have to limit it that way because it is broadly available pursuant to Robert's Rules of Order to each and every single one of you. And then and it's an interesting mixed bag of, the city attorney is the parliamentarian, the mayor is in charge of conducting the meetings, so both have roles. The mayor initially takes that point of order, and she makes a determination with respect to the point of order. That's how Robert's rules stated. But then if there's a question as to the propriety of it, then it would fall onto the city attorney, which is the fuller explanation with respect to that section.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I say the city attorney because our code of ordinances has the city attorney listed as the parliamentarian, or maybe the charter, I forget now.
Okay. Gotcha. And then maybe one more. Then under the, what is it, use of communication devices during meetings, council members shall refrain from the use. It basically says don't touch your phone the whole time. If you had to, some of our meetings are 3.5 hours long, can you contact family members? Or is this strictly no? Yeah. What's best practice here?
Yeah, well, best practice, I think personally, I believe best practice exists currently in the city of Troy and cities like the city of Troy, which literally take the phones from council members, or not take, pardon me, council members lock their phones or place them in their little cubbies somewhere in the city, and they're not in their presence during council meetings. If you ask me, that's best practice. It avoids any claims, any concerns or claims of impropriety concerns. It keeps you free from, not that you would do ever anything wrong, but sometimes even just the appearance of impropriety is enough to cause an issue. So if you were to ask me, I would say that's a great practice. No talking, no communicating on the phone during council meetings.
Okay.
we don't want your phones to be subject to anything.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay. And then there was, I think I have one more. Section 11, council staff relations. There's a note in here that says, council shall not attempt to correct or influence staff in the selection of employees, recommendations for the awarding of contracts, the selection of consultants. The one that stood out to me was the awarding of contracts. I feel like that is within our purview of, scrutinizing contracts that come to us.
They do, in a public meeting. I imagine, and perhaps there's a more artful way to actually state this outright. I think I will take you at that.
Okay.
But the desired outcome of that is that pursuant to the charter and pursuant to our code of ordinances, there's a distance between members of council and the staff. Communications flow through the city manager and vice versa. What that attempts to do is exactly that, and not, to hold that balance pursuant to the charter and the code. But there is a more artful way of stating it, and that I will take on, with your permission, with your leave, Madam Mayor, I'll take that we'll state that a little better.
Okay, please.
Because you're right, I mean, obviously contracts belong to you.
Yeah.
Mr. Riker, you had a thought on what he was saying, or is he covered?
Not on what he was saying. It was in general with, in regards to workshops. So when it came to budget season, previously the budget was done and it was in front of council and the department heads came like close to when the budget was due and they did like a dog and pony. And it really wasn't productive or collaborative at all. And so it's kind of synonymous, but maybe we have to put it in this policy. The budget workshops were actually budget discussions. And when I phrased it that way, it became a collaboration with council and department heads and kind of shed that old perception. So could we simply just potentially consider adding discussion, workshop/discussion as a way to describe something? I mean, I don't think it's an end of the road, but I just, historically, the last 2 years or 3 years, that's what we've called it, was budget discussions.
Discussions versus take it out of the realm of workshop, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, because I was going to say, since 2017, I've been involved in a lot of different budget presentations, and I've seen really robust ones. I don't know if Mr. Pollack will tell you, we used to go line by line over it. There was a very cursory one back in the 2020 years. The past two, like, I personally very much enjoyed, although it might have been a burden on you guys and you called it a dog and pony show, I really like each department getting up and telling us their story. So you want to make a discussion sort of category outside of workshop, or?
No, I just like that workshop could be synonymous with discussion or vice.
Okay.
Like just put it in parentheses next to it, only because that's how we've conducted business and gotten a lot done in the last few years. Was the dog and pony show. I say that because it was like done. You guys didn't have a lot of discretion because you were jammed up right to the due date of the budget. And so the staff members came in here and were like, what exactly do they want? Because there's not a whole lot of moving parts. Like,
Right.
We're up against a deadline. It is what it is. We haven't had any, there really wasn't time for collaboration. So we moved the time up so that there was a discussion. So it's like everyone's empowered to say what it is they want. And if you recall, I would come back with initial discussions internally and said, we've been able to, everything that we discussed will be in this budget, or everything minus X, Y, and A are going to be in this budget for the following reasons. And that's how the communication and your buy-in early on, and you were part of the process much earlier on than it was in the first year that I was here.
So workshops, to maybe in the paragraph, to include things such that blah, 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 something like that. would
Budget
address that
discussions,
concern?
yes, to
Yeah,
include budget
yeah,
discussions.
yeah. Okay,
Something
cool,
like
cool.
that.
Something like that. All right. You can use your wordsmithing magic on that. Let's go down to Councilmember Tinlin.
You're jumping around, so you caught me off guard for a second.
Sorry, well, I'll keep you on your toes.
So I'll do the boring one first. It's page 11, just standards of conduct for city council members. There's a lot of shall not statements there, but there's no discussion on penalties. Is that somewhere buried elsewhere in the charter? So if I decide to have personal gain, I use city resources, I give gifts over $50, and even though I'm shall not, there's no penalties for that?
These are your rules of procedure. We
Oh.
wouldn't outline penalties here because they're simply your rules of procedure. If there are penalties, they'll be found in the Code of Ordinances.
Okay.
Right, and if there are penalties, which there is an overall penalty to violating, for example, your charter, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
outlined.
And they're linked together though, right? So I just thought it was interesting, we have it in our procedures, but it doesn't refer to the
Right,
penalties
this
if.
is- I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries.
This is your own rules for yourself, your guiding principle for yourself. But then we have, of course, force of law comes from literally, in this case, our ordinances, right? And the charter, because we have a simple statement in our charter that says if you violate this charter, then your sanction is X. But with respect to these rules, we wouldn't articulate that here. And with respect to these shall not statements, they are linked and they don't come from ether, they come from the Code of Ordinances and the charter. So there is a basis for them. But we wouldn't look here for sanction.
So again, it's like handbook and the ordinances and the ethics ordinance and the forms we fill out and all that kind of stuff sort of supersede, lie on top of this. This is just our handbook sort of thing.
All right. No, I'm good. I believe that a leader should lead by example, right? So I like the shall not statement, so that's very tight boundaries for us. The only other one I had was, I think it was mentioned before, the words of wisdom. I guess I have a different perspective on that. I like the fact we talked at the last meeting about having a process for selection, because in my world, I think, for a world set on tearing itself apart, that's what we live in right now. I like the words of wisdom. It gives me grounding. It gives me some positive views as a leader. Maybe the process of having where we have a mix of voices. It just doesn't have to be the Christian faith. It doesn't have to be Western ideologies. There's Aristotle. There's other thoughts around words of wisdom. So if we could have a process where, besides just asking to be here, that we have some type of selection criteria or expand out who can do those, I'd rather see the words of wisdom and maybe a time limit. I'm not sure we discussed that in the last meeting as well, because I've sat in a few that were very inspirational, but not for 10 minutes long. So maybe that we should consider that, putting a process in front of the words of wisdom.
May I add, Madam Mayor, some information with respect to that? Because when the question was asked, and I was going off of memory, which I never should, and I took the time to then start looking into our Code of Ordinances, which in section, charter, in section 2.63 it states the order of business. It says, all meetings of the council shall be open to the public. It continues on with the paragraph. And then it says, disposition in the following order. It gives the order of business, which says, 1, roll call. 2, approved minutes of previous meeting. 3, petitions and communication. 4, introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. 5, report of officers, boards, and committees. 6, unfinished business. 7, new business. 8, miscellaneous. 9, general public discussion. 10, appropriations. 11, adjournment.
That's in the charter, or are you reading an ordinance?
2.65, no, Code of Ordinances, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I might, so with respect to then your determination as to how you would proceed, you can always offer more, right? You could build your agenda and provide additional stuff, as we could. You can't do less than that, because that's the law that you're following.
Can you give that number again, just so we can look at it after?
Sure, it's 2.6, section 2-63.
I'm sorry, 2-63.
63.
Okay. In light of there being a codification of the order of business, would it make sense not to include that here and just point to whatever ordinance is in place? Because we have to follow the ordinance regardless of what we say here.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, could you ask me the question one more time? I apologize.
I guess my question was, since it's codified in the ordinance, the order of the meeting, like whatever we write here is moot, right? Because the ordinance supersedes whatever we say we're going to do, right?
The ordinance supersedes, but again, you can offer more, not less, meaning you can't take away from it, you can add to it.
I see what you're saying. Yes, Mr. Riker?
So Michelle just brought it up, and it's from 1978, and I don't think, I know in my time, we're not in the correct order. So,
As far as the order of the agenda you're talking about?
yeah. And, I mean, and it's been that way for 4 years, so to the city
It's been that way
attorney.
as long as I've been up here,
To
too.
the city attorney, how do we make such a correction?
So maybe a byproduct of this exercise is for that ordinance to be on the next
Because
agenda. For
obviously, you know, think about, and Nick just mentioned this, you know, council has added, for example, council comments, right? You can provide more, right? You can't take away. Right?
Yep.
So if you wanted to revisit that, you could revisit the, or, you know, that particular section of it. But I think actually it's the chart.
So I see what you're saying. So we would put, theoretically, even if we were to redo the ordinance, we could put everything in there, but then decide here which of those things we want to pull out and actually for our 2-year that this handbook's going to be in place, that we want to actually employ.
So I'm trying to follow what you're saying, ma'am. You said you could put everything in there. Are you referring to the handbook, or are you referring to the
You're
ordinance?
right, it's the opposite. We should put a little bit in
little
there,
bit in the
and we can
ordinance.
add more because we can't take away. You're right, you're absolutely right. All right, so, but nonetheless, it sounds like taking a look at the ordinance would be wise.
I think so. I think
Okay.
we wouldn't make that particular portion of it, that call here
Okay.
today.
All right,
Well,
so,
we should probably revisit this item.
Yeah.
yeah. So back to council, sorry, one second, back to Councilmember Tinlin. So if we are keeping this in, you're advocating for leaving the words of inspiration as is?
Yeah, the words of wisdom, inspiration, but getting a larger spectrum of people giving us those words of inspiration. Where you talked, believe you brought up coming from school children, whatever it may be. If we want more viewership, maybe have a raffle every month and who gets to be the words of inspiration from pick. But I think we should keep it. I mean, I don't think it's something where the people in the community are really against. And I'm looking for things that are not decisive either. I want some healing in the community too. So my opinion.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Spishak.
I didn't have anything new to add. I did have the same concern for Aiden when it came to public comment and workshops. Just wanted to be able to add that if possible, because I think it's important. I know there's not a back and forth, but it's being able to hear the people who are attending and what they, want to see from us, their representatives.
Okay. All right, thank you. Councilmember Slawinski.
So I have a question regarding Section 2.68. This is a question for Rennis. Currently, the council has public comment for 4 minutes. And this ordinance, it's the manner of addressing the council time limit. It says that we shall give the name and address, and it shall limit it to 2 minutes.
Right.
So because we made a motion and it all passed, do we need to update this ordinance as well?
You could if you'd like. Again, you can offer more. You cannot take away. You cannot provide less.
Okay.
Right. So council, some time ago, decided to offer more public comment by way of motion and brought it up to 3 minutes. This body brought it up to 4 minutes. You can offer more, right? It's your time, but you cannot offer less. You cannot go down to 1 minute.
So we don't need to update this because as
could.
long as we're going to the 2 minutes, we're good. And if it's less, we'll have a problem.
But several councils from now, we may go down to, up to a half an hour. Perhaps we need to revisit this, but no, you don't. You don't.
What about, she mentioned, though, the address and stuff being
Yeah,
codified?
If you recall, that question was asked, and now forgive me, I don't recall whether it was this iteration of the body or the previous iteration of the body. We issued a legal opinion on the matter where, in our opinion, the address was not necessary and it ran afoul of a certain case law that we have. As a result, just stating the city and making a delineation with respect to whether you live in the city or not is sufficient for our purposes.
So
I'm not
does
sure
that-
that I re-forward that opinion to all of you, because, forgive me, I don't know that I recall where, at what point that was asked.
I remember.
So that means for that ordinance, the 2.68, since that is no longer required, we should update that?
That is a perfectly valid question, and here's the answer to it. There is a lot in our code of ordinances, as well as the charter, new as it is, that is already outdated and overruled by case law, and it happens all the time. I think if we're talking about updating provisions of our code of ordinances, which we've been trying to do, and we always constantly attempt to do, and we're going to continue to want to do. We will be bogged down in quite a bit of revisioning. So some things have priority, and I think probably prioritizing items is more important than that particular section, I would imagine, because there's case law is ongoing, right? You know, we have new rules all the time. So.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have my opinion about the words of inspiration. I appreciate the words of inspiration, but I have a question for you, Michelle, and that is, how do we choose who comes in for the words of inspiration? Is there like a process for that?
Well, so after the council started discussing this with this new council here, in January, we sent letters out to all of the Clawson churches offering the opportunity to be a part of the council words of inspiration. We sent a general letter out. I think I got 2 responses back besides the people that were already on the list that we currently had. So it's been a standing list of those that were interested in being a part of the council meetings. I will say that this has been I started to look up before you called on me, but this has been a process of the Clawson City Council from back to probably the inception of council. So it's not something new. It has changed over the time. You've seen it change. It went from invocation maybe to words of inspiration, that kind of thing. And I think that typically when that changed, it wasn't that someone had to come up and do a prayer per se. It could have been a quote. It could have been a poem. It could have been, and that's really, we give no guidance on that. We offer it up to who wants to come. You know, we have reached out to the church institutions because that's typically who we've used over the past. And so everyone's welcome to do it. And if I get information from someone that maybe, we did research all the churches and try to get the letter out to everyone. If I found out someone that wasn't offered, we would surely offer that. So what comes down to is a list that we keep in the office. It's part of the packet building. We reach out. I would love to have a reach out in January and get everyone on the calendar. That would be the perfect scenario. It used to work. We just don't have that kind of interest right now from the people. So you end up try to find someone that's available. People are out of town, people are sick, different things happen. So that's kind of what happened today. We ended up with no one, at the last minute. So we reached out to everyone on the list to see who can do this, right? So that's the way that we process it. It's not a pick and choose where really, I do like to see the different, and if it was up to me, I do try to keep a rotation going. If we got participation from all the churches in town, they probably would only do twice a year, kind of thing. Because you'd basically put them on a calendar and they would know ahead of time what day that they're scheduled. And what happened in the past is that if someone couldn't be here, they would swap with someone else. So they would reach out to their other people that were on the list and say, I can't make it tonight, can you do mine? And they swap it out. So, that's in a perfect world. We don't have that really at this point. So we're just trying to get it covered. In the past, as you know, the council has stepped in and offered a word of inspiration or a word of, so that has been another way of filling in because we have been stuck at some point where we didn't have someone to step up and do it. So it has been a process, whatever you call it. It's been called several things, I think, since I've been around, but it's been going on for a very long time. So
if we have somebody who's maybe not one specific religion, maybe they're not, but they want to come up and do the words of inspiration, they're not going to be contacted because they don't belong to any of the churches in Clawson. So is there a way they can get a hold of you? Like, what is the process for that?
I suppose that comes down to the council's decision and this rules and policies, how they want to see this. It's not my decision. Obviously, I have complied with the people that are interested and reached out to those that I know that were interested. So it really, if that's something that this council agrees on.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if, I would like to see something different, like a sign-up genius or like something more automated that they could go in and we could send them a link and they could go ahead, somebody contacts us and says, I would love to do that. I'm just not sure who I could contact. We could send them the link and then if we ever look at the link, we can see which weeks or would still need to be in process. So anyway, not to have the discussion how to change it, but maybe there's a different way that we can do it so that we can reach out to more people and have more people sign up and then it be covered so we're not looking for last minute. And the only other thing is, I would say, when we do this and we discuss it, I think I agree with Scott. I think there should be a time limit on it, like maybe 2 minutes. Just something quick, something special, something inspirational, and then we're done. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Council member.
Well, I'm not going to get into much because I think we're going to table this for the most part. But I guess like everybody else here, the main point is the words of wisdom for me too. As someone who's spiritual but not religious and strongly believes in a separation of church and state, I've noticed that the words of wisdom and what did we call it before? Invocation and any way you try to call it, it evolves over time in ways that I don't think it was ever originally intended. So for discussion, or to put it out there, I'd like to consider maybe a moment of silence where people can use that for prayer or meditation or however they see fit. That would be my suggestion. Or as Councilmember Peltonen suggested, I guess we can't, unless we can't we can't have less. Because if we can't add, we can't take away unless we change an ordinance. So I don't know. But we got to review things and go back. So that's been my only issue with it, and something that I've seen is.
With respect to that item, as indicated in the order of business that you currently have in the ordinance, it is not there.
Got it.
Right. It is so, but it's a convention, obviously, of the body that you've done for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a consideration to be had by all of you.
Great. That's it.
All right, I have a bunch too. So looking at, so voting and discussion, like things under item 4, and I get that they're sort of probably Robert's Rules of Order, but they're not things that we.
What page are you looking at?
I'm landing on page 6. You can go to page 6. So the council member may not speak against his or her own motion, but may vote against it. I know a lot of times a motion's made so we can have the discussion. And that might be a Robert's Rules of Order thing, but it happens all the time so that the discussion is made. So do we care about that? Is it just in here? I mean,
It's a true statement of the rule, but obviously council will operate.
So can we maybe soften it, instead of shall apply, maybe may apply, or at the discretion of some, you know what I'm saying? Somehow, the other thing was, questions and remarks must be addressed through the mayor, and council members are not to speak directly to each other or to staff. I mean, we're obviously a little, we're much more lax with that. To facilitate conversations.
Right. And in that sense, so, all would be well until issue presents itself. And when an issue presents itself, you've adopted Robert's Rules of Order in your Code of Ordinances. Having done that, Robert's Rules determine outcome.
So you can close things down or shut things down and get order, so.
So a statement to the contrary of Robert's Rules in here, which you can certainly have.
Right.
But a statement to the contrary would fall prey to an objection under Robert's Rules.
I guess I don't have it, it says shall, and we don't do that, so.
Right, well,
So if we could just soften that, like may or whatever, you know what I'm going for, whatever.
I certainly do, but again, statement holds if it runs afoul of Robert's Rules and somebody, in good times, all is well.
Right.
In bad times, if there's an issue and somebody makes a point of order and it seeks to address it, then Robert's Rule would govern, and shall would be the order of the day.
Okay, all right, I get you. Then I also have on page 9, this, if we can remove this, in order to prevent inadvertent violations of Open Meetings Act, attendance by non-members of council shall result, that we've identified flies in the face of the Open Meetings Act. You can't tell people they can't come, and, so if we could remove that sentence from
Sorry, were you looking at?
page 9,
Yes.
item number 2, second sentence. And then the other, tell me when you're all set.
I'm wondering if your version is a little different than mine.
This is the one, the draft, item, page 9. I printed it off the packet.
Page 9, what section? Your section,
very
citizen
top, right-
participation?
The very top, right here, no, above citizen participation. I can give you this afterwards.
Item 15.
So, as part of, the reason I ask, in my version, I don't have it. We sent a couple of emails exchanging back and forth while we're amending this, and I'm wondering which version made it
Oh,
onto yours.
interestingly enough, because I went back and I bumped it up against the original version, and that sentence appears in there as well. It may have been removed subsequently, but if it's removed, that's cool. I'll just give you this at the end. But the other,
Oh, it may be my apologies, ma'am. It may be simply the format that I'm looking at here versus the format that eventually made it onto your document.
Okay.
Into the agenda packet.
I will share this with you, though.
Thank you.
So we already addressed that thing. The other thing, and this might be the same comment that you made before, but I just wanted to discuss it. So this is on page 10, and it's the paragraph above cabling, TV, video, and audio recording. There should be no audience comment by voice, clapping, or otherwise showing approval or disapproval of remarks of the speaker. Like, how do we, that's freedom of speech, right?
The clapping, well, Robert's Rules of Order disagreement.
Okay, so if it's a Robert's Rules of Order thing, so that we could, same answer as before, then I'm fine with that. And then, let me see, I have one more thing circled here. Two things. Actually, just the new council member orientation. Back in 2017, when I came on council, they gave us a really cool book with the charter and the code of ordinances in it for reference, so we always had it for us people that don't like it online. I mean, so it's in here. It would be cool if we got that, I'm just saying. And then my only comment would be on the words of inspiration. And I know it's a difficult situation, and there's people who like it, and there's people who don't like it. But if we were to, the issue is when it does take an incredibly religious tone, and there's people that it does offend, and it's my goal to make sure that everyone always feels welcome here, that it's a place that they don't have to walk in late, that they can be here when they want. The moment of silence reminds me of a funeral. So that's just, we do happier things here than a funeral. So that's the only reason I don't like the moment of silence. But is there a way, if we're going to keep it, to somehow remove the religious overtones of it and just make it a more inspirational thing? The other thing that I've thought of doing is, taking it outside of the public hands and making it so that the council's always responsible for giving their words of inspiration. Like, if we're going to leave that item in here, what is within our reach, Mr. Nushai, to sort of rein it in and making sure that it's inclusive and not any particular denomination or anything? Like, how do we sort of codify the parameters that particular agenda item can be within?
It's a valid question. I would ask that you give me some time to not just think about it, because if I think about it, I'll give you my private personal answer, and I don't want to do that. I'd rather give you my legal answer. Allow me to look into it and maybe propose something to you.
And we would do that here versus the ordinance, right? Because that would allow subsequent councils to do as they wish.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You certainly would.
All right, well, I'm fine with having the time. So I'm going to look up and down and see if anyone has any additional comments based on all the conversations that we had before we move on. Mr. Reichert.
Yes, as far as the words of inspiration, knowing that this would eventually become a conversation, I did a little bit of research. My understanding is that at the federal level, both the House and the Senate have their own chaplain, and that each session is open with prayer. I did speak, or I should say I texted with my state rep from representing Mount Clemens, and the state reps rotate having someone do an invocation or words of inspiration, and when it becomes that state rep's turn, they can pass on it if they wish. So it's alive and well at both levels of government.
So if we were, understood, but it's been an issue in this community. If we were to do something along those lines, we could rotate perhaps the council member, maybe the responsibility of each council member, and they could invite a member of the community or a laureate, or they could invite a church member or something like that, so that each member of council would have sort of the responsibility taken off Michelle's plate, but B, also the accountability of what's presented, just as an idea to sort of toggle off of what you said there. So obviously this is a work in progress. We'll put a pin in that. You're going to come back with some ideas. We're all going to mull over it, and we'll address it one more time. Yes.
One last thing. I will say that in past years, it was maybe a letter would go out and say that you have to, like maybe how to do that. It become a difficult thing to manage because it's not fair to say, one, you can do this, but we don't want you to do that. So it's really hard for you to limit what whoever it is you invite. I don't care who it is you invite. You can't really limit what they're going to say. You're asking them to give some words of inspiration or wisdom or whatever that is. So you're asking them to do that. It could be a quote, their famous quote, that they know, or as Pastor Ramsey gave today. He talked about Martin Luther King. It could be your favorite, whatever it is that's on your mind. But to try to limit what you're asking your constituents to come in, or your residents, or whoever to come in and give, is kind of a difficult thing. And if you get too tight, then you're violating your own policy because you're making it too tight on what people can say and what they can do. So,
and I agree with you. I think that's why I'd like to either make it the responsibility of the council to give the words of inspiration and take the onus off of someone else we're bringing in and try and put parameters. Or somehow having us make sure that it's representative of what we're trying to, the inclusivity and the ideas that we're trying to foster here as a council. So I think there's a lot for Mr. Nushai to get out his little legal magic wand and come up with all kinds of great opportunities for us, and it's more to come on this topic. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Mr. Nushai, can you just lay out exactly how this process will look? So you're going to come back up with a markup, and hopefully, I'd like to see what you've added, not just a new draft document, right?
Red line?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
and then
sure.
will we discuss it again at that time? And then eventually after...
If it's within range, you would have a motion right then and there. If minor edits are all that's required, if more substantive edits are required, then we'll take it back and just how the sausage is made.
Okay. So it'll be a working meeting next, Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Councilmember Peltonen, there's something on your tongue there you want to say. So.
Well, it just sounds like a lot of reasons why to do away with it altogether. It sounds like it's very tricky to please everybody. Hearing that we've always done it this way, or it has longstanding in anybody, does not, to me, validate it as it's important. And I know churches now are nowhere near as full as they were even 25, 30 years ago. And to hear, there's not much interest in doing it, it just sounds like lots of reasons that we shouldn't have it at all.
I think it's all food for thought, and I think that there's a lot of ideas and a lot of opinions. There's a lot of things to consider, so I think we'll continue to talk about it until we find a place to land. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I respect your opinion as yours, everybody's. All right, awesome. All right, so that was just a discussion item, so nothing to do aside from that, besides discuss it ad nauseum, which we have done. All right, so we are moving on to item 9 F, which is consideration of receiving and filing the legal opinion regarding the city manager's contract negotiation and approval as it relates to PA 317.
Madam Mayor, I move to receive and file the city attorney's legal opinion regarding the city manager's contract negotiation and approval as it relates to PA 317.
Is there a second?
Support.
All right, we have a support.
Madam Mayor?
Yep, go for it.
Yes, only because the date needs to be corrected
Oh.
verbally in the rationalization. So I have written in there at the December 16 was actually at the January 6, 2026 regular city council meeting. Discussion was held regarding the nuances of privileged communications between attorneys and their clients. During discussion, the city council moved to waive the privileged status on the city attorney's opinion regarding my contract negotiation approval as it relates to PA 317. Additionally, the motion placed it on the agenda to be received and filed at this evening's meeting. The understood intent of this action is to make this document accessible to the public as it is part of the agenda packet, which is located within our Documents on Demand feature located on the city's website.
Mr. Newshine, does receiving and filing change the credibility, the nature, the title, the essence, or anything about the document other than what Mr. Riker just said? It just allows us to make it part of the packet and available for public accessibility.
That's correct, ma'am.
So receiving and filing, it doesn't say, we agreed it's all right. It doesn't say it's all wrong and it's garbage. It doesn't say anything other than it has been received and filed. We can put it in the packet, we can put it in the minutes, and people can get it whenever they want.
Yes, ma'am.
During public comment, there was a lot of concerns expressed about it. Do you have any thing you can share with us about those comments?
I think with respect to the comments and the questions.
You're kind of hard to hear. Can
Oh,
you,
my
sorry, yeah.
apologies. My mother says I'm soft-spoken. She's right. Madam Mayor, with respect to the comments and the questions that have been a part of this process, while I appreciate the thoughtful engagement that's been a part of this and this entire issue overall, I think the scope of an attorney-client communication between counsel and the attorney, I think, must remain focused on providing legal guidance to the municipality, right, and to the council as the representative of the people. Once a legal opinion is issued, it represents the city's legal position. And for purposes of, that's done for many purposes, but obviously for purposes of not only advising counsel, but also managing risk. There is, of course, an appropriate level of clarification that as an attorney or any attorney can provide, and I think, as you will attest, of course, we've talked about this issue ad nauseum. That's not to say that this opinion may have changed all your minds, far from it. I don't believe it's ever intended to be that way. It's simply to elucidate the legal concepts at play. But obviously, I'm of the opinion that we should not convert disagreement with the opinion, which is natural, right, into an ongoing effort to sort of, just keep hashing it over and mulling it over and relitigating and attempting to sort of subvert the legal concept and whatever the conclusion is through debate. So for my purposes, again, I don't take away personally at a personal level, at an intellectual level. I appreciate the discourse, I do, but for purposes of this body, and it happened is not just one opinion here. There's two opinions, just by sheer happenstance. Obviously, I opined on the matter, and then I wasn't here on the next meeting, and my colleague Kara Crofton opined on, same topic, slightly different angle as well. I think for our purposes, and for purposes of this body, I think we've covered the topic sufficiently. And again, once the attorney opines on the matter, that's the city's legal position.
Okay. Discussion to my left. Going down the row, Council. All right.
Over that part. Well, Yeah, you're right. We've been talking about this a lot. And my original intent was just to have it in writing, and I wanted, and the motion I did the last meeting was make it available to the public, and that was my goals. But I'm not an attorney either, though, so I would love to hear from my other council members on their views on this, because at the end of the day, this was all done by that special meeting, which I didn't agree upon, and now we're left holding all this unfortunate angst.
Councilmember Spishak.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Scott, I think, or Mr. Tinlin, I should say. I think that it's, ended up in our lap, and we're just trying to get to the bottom of it, so I appreciate the, opinion, but I definitely am sort of still lost on the opinion myself.
You lost on the opinion or the opinion?
I think the opinion overall.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Slawinski.
I think I have the same view. I'm not an attorney, so I am listening to our attorney, and I appreciate your opinion, which is now our opinion. And it's odd because I wouldn't say we're stuck with this, but coming in and understanding how this all works with the new council and the monies involved, and not that the city manager is going to do anything bad. It's just a very strange concept that it doesn't matter if he does good or bad, but if he decides, or if there is something that is wrong and that he's terminated, that the taxpayers' money is giving him money, almost like a gift.
So I'm actually going to call a point of order because the conversation is in regard to the legality of the contract, not to the ethical nature of the contract. So if we could stick to that issue.
Okay, I have no comments then. I will say that from the people that I speak with who send me messages, who call, are still confused about the whole thing. So I will say that.
And I would invite you to continue your thoughts maybe during council comments.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Rinkovic.
Well, I think part of the reason that there's confusion is because the opinion has not addressed a main point in Public Act 317. So Councilmember Peltonen and I don't know, sorry, I'm just hearing that. I thought that was me. When we attended Michigan Municipal League training, that was one of the first public acts that we were introduced to. So this is something that, I personally have been deep diving into. It was one of the acts that MML's council told us, you need to know this, one of two. So I guess for me, receiving and filing the opinion is obviously about transparency and public access. But I think the outstanding questions for all of us up here are about addressing whether the city manager initiated or participated in negotiating his own contract amendments. And that's the central statutory issue I think we've been trying to get at. And that's why there's still questions. So my support this evening in receiving and filing the opinion is not an endorsement necessarily of the analysis, but it's about transparency and public access this evening for me. So,
thank you.
If that helps.
Councilmember Peltonen.
No, I don't have a lot on this one.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Just a quick comment. I support this because we're just kind of removing the barrier of the public to have to FOIA this. So now it's on the website and it's easy to see, so I support this.
Mr. Nushai. At the risk of asking for another legal opinion, because I'm not, but it seems like there's still some unanswered questions, like, was there the 48-hour notice I made note of, or the chain of events that transpired? How do we put those to rest?
We will never be able to, ma'am.
Okay,
We could go ad nauseum with respect to this,
Okay.
obviously. And I think, and I don't have to think about this, but I imagine that it is because those of you that object to, as Mrs. Tinlin so aptly put it, to the action that was taken by the previous iteration of council. And I imagine that was, that is, the sum total of the objection, at the basis of the objection from a lot of the members of the community that come and speak. And I make no, there's nothing in my opinion, there's nothing in Ms. Crofton's opinion that deals with that issue, because that's not our job. Right? It has nothing to do with what we do as attorneys. What we do as attorneys deals with the law. We analyze the law. We analyze, and it just so happened, we were fortunate that just by sheer happenstance, again, Ms. Crofton was here in the second meeting, because I wouldn't have issued a second opinion on this necessarily, because I already opined once.
Okay.
I'm not in the business, as attorneys, we're not in the business of revising our opinion based on, unfortunately, even where other members of the body and or of the public disagree, or they don't, disagree, don't understand, require further clarification. That's not how the law works, unfortunately, right? We opine on the matter, and then that's the legal position of the city. You don't have to accept it in the sense, or you don't have to like it, I should say, pardon me. And we, of course, our stated desire always is that we wish to have opinions that foreclose upon an issue and foreclose upon a topic, so that we never have to revisit it ever again. Does that happen 100% of the time? Clearly, this is an example that no, it does not. Right? That's certainly not our intention. But to go over there and relitigate the facts of this, the back and forth with respect to this, there's no wisdom to that, and I don't know that I will engage in it. As I've stated before, and I'm not inviting anyone to file a lawsuit on this topic, far from it, but that's not, when we say go ahead and challenge it, we say it because we are certain in the work product that we put in that opinion, right? And I imagine Ms. Crofton would say the same thing, right? Now, you don't have to like it, but I assure you, folks, that there is no statute, there's no act in the state of Michigan that lives and stands for the proposition that an employee of the city cannot engage in negotiating his contract. You're misinterpreting the statute, and I'll leave it at that, ma'am.
And of course, I'm going to just
Oh,
beat a dead horse.
That's
and,
right.
and that is that as far as avenues for this body, we've come to an end, and there's nothing else that this body can.
Well, sure there is. Sure there is. Yeah, you can take action. You don't have to like the opinion. You may take action against the opinion, against the advice. People act against their lawyer's advice all the time. I wouldn't be in business if that wasn't the case.
But we
Right?
wouldn't
You can
do.
take action against the city manager anytime. Sure you can.
But we wouldn't do that in our official capacity.
Sure you could.
Well, tell me about that.
What's your complaint? Your complaint, I imagine, and city manager.
Go for it.
Play devil's advocate.
Okay.
I imagine this body could move to fire the city manager today. What's to stop you? Nothing.
So we can take. So what you're saying is we can take action around the impropriety of all of that stuff in our personal opinions about how abhorrent it was and all that sort of stuff. But so our legal action is the consequences of that.
The consequences of that is that we're going to litigate with the city manager's
Right.
attorney, I imagine, down
Right,
the road.
right. But there's
And what I'm
but,
telling you is if we do that, that's a dead bang loser all day.
but that's not what my question was
my
so much.
apologies.
So my question was, as far as the legality around that contract and the actions, we've come to an end of the road as far
Yes,
as
ma'am.
what we can do. That was my question.
My apologies. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You are correct.
I mean,
But-
I'm sure there's all kinds of,
Sure.
Sure, there's, get George Clooney to play him in a movie, whatever we want to do, right? We could do lots of things. Okay, all right. So, after all that, we still have a roll call.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Potem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltman,
Yes.
Councilmember Rinkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Kowinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
All right, we have voted to receive and file the attorney's legal opinion regarding the city manager's contract negotiations approval as it relates to PA 317. That brings us to item 9G, which is consideration of the special event application for Clawsonfest to be held on August 22nd of 2026.
Madam Mayor, I move to open discussion on the special event application for Clawsonfest as presented.
Support.
And so this is just a discussion before, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Riker to read the words he has composed here, but I just wanted to make one little correction, and that is MMR has not recommended any potential cost recovery that came up at the DDA meeting. So although it's listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's that one is the city administration's recommendation. And if you want to go ahead and read all that, Mr. Riker?
Yes, ma'am. The 2026 Clawsonfest is proposed to take place on August 22nd, 2026, subject to City Council approval. The event has been held within the Downtown Development Authority District and has previously operated under the notion that the event was covered under the City of Clawson's insurance policy. Due to the continued growth and scale of the event, the city's insurance provider, Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, MMRMA, conducted a review of Clawsonfest application. As a municipal risk-sharing pool that provides insurance coverage exclusively to Michigan local units of government, MMRMA does not insure private entities such as LLCs, nonprofits, or event promoters. Based on this review, City Administration and MMRMA recommend approval of the event subject to the following conditions. Clawsonfest LLC shall obtain and provide a certificate of special event insurance. 2, all vendors shall execute a hold harmless and indemnification agreement. 3, all food vendors and any vendors presenting a higher level of risk shall provide a certificate of insurance naming the City of Clawson as an additional insured. The DDA shall formally support the event through a resolution. A potential cost recovery requirement may apply. On January 15, 2026, the Downtown Development Authority approved a motion to formally support the co-sponsored Clawsonfest by resolution, consistent with the City of Clawson's special event permit application. As a co-sponsor event, cost recovery for City of Clawson service is not required. The DDA support is contingent upon all vendors executing hold harmless and indemnification agreements and applicable vendors providing the required insurance certificates, naming the city as an additional insured. Based on the recommendations of Keith Potter, the DDA further recommends that the determination of insurance requirements specific to Clawsonfest LLC be deferred to the City Council. Under the special event permit application, co-sponsor events may be approved when City Council determines the event is in the general public interest and advances the city's public image. Staff from MMRMA, Keith Potter, and the applicant are present for discussion. If I can further elaborate on the number 5, the potential cost recovery requirement that may apply. Mr. Potter, I don't know if you remember that I had the conversation, or we had the conversation in that the exposure may exist if we don't treat all applicants in the same fashion. So if we weren't to do a cost recovery here and we did a cost recovery with somebody else, are we creating a double standard that would create some exposure? And so I think we had some discussion around that. But yes, that is something that the administration brought up.
Good evening, all. When you're talking about the cost recovery, if I recall correctly, you were talking about 5,000 and 3,000.
Somewhere in there. It was
Okay.
it was between 5 and 8.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the risk that we're managing, the attempt to protect the city's deductible on any of these things. So.
No, but I mean the practice of if we were to say, well, if we pick winners and losers and not
Well-
have a clear policy on that.
But from my standpoint, we don't want to pick winners and losers as far as the various events that go on. We want to be consistent, okay? Outside of the insurance aspect, I think that's up to this council and/or your city attorney. I don't think that really comes into play from the standpoint of managing the risk on the insurance side.
And we had, at the DDA meeting, we had specifically asked that question, and at that time, you said that wasn't anything that you included in your requirements, if you recall.
Right,
That was
but
your
it looked
response.
like it.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why I pointed it
Yes.
out this time, because it
Right.
was presented as though it was something you were suggesting.
Right.
That's why I asked about it. You said it was not, and that's why I added that clarification
Yeah,
here
yeah,
as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the
Nope.
confusion.
No, you're good. Do you have anything you want to share? I see that Kristen, do you want to come on up too? Kristen from the DDA, I know that because it is a co-sponsored event, and then is that Sean back there? Yeah, come on. There's all the players, so that if you have something you want to say about it, go ahead and, Sean, if you want to, actually, Sean, if you could just share with us, my understanding is that you guys, number one, you were under the assumption that it was covered under the city policy because you were specifically told in the past that it was, which we have uncovered that it is absolutely not. So, but it's my understanding that you guys are fine with going ahead and securing your own insurance, so you're cool with that. Go ahead, Kevin, did you?
I just want, something that you just said, I don't want anyone to get the impression that this is not covered under the MMRMA. What I'm attempting to do in all of these cases is to protect the city as best I can from paying out a $75,000 deductible.
So, yeah, so
That's why I recommend for events, and whether it's vendors, the event promoter, whomever, to secure insurance and name the city as an additional insured to protect that.
So I'm talking as though everyone was involved in all these conversations we had with the DDA. So let me just give the background. There's a $75 essential deductible, but it's a self-insured, $75,000 deductible, essentially self-insured. That's your concern, is mitigating the risk for the city for the $75,000. That's the insurance you asked them to obtain to cover that portion, and then name the city as the beneficiary potentially for any risk that would come to fruition and be paid out. So that was the issue about the insurance. And that it's understood before they were told that there was a special rider for it, but there's no special rider. It's just covered because it's covered, correct?
Yes, and I think there was some confusion in the past.
Right.
Because of an Oakland County stage and different things that we did provide certificates of insurance for, so that we could get the stage. So some of those things appeared that way.
And it's valuable to have that background just to understand that, like, no one was like,
Right.
It was more, oh, we thought it was this way. No, it's really this way. And then there's this and that. So, and then Sean, my understanding is you guys are fine with securing your insurance?
Yeah, so we started with the previous DDA where it was more kind of a gentleman's agreement, verbal, we'll handle it, we'll work with the city, things like that. Now what we're doing is getting really organized, which is good, and I thank City Manager Riker for bringing up the point of let's minimize risk for the city. So these are things that we should be doing as we reach a point with the festival. So it started in a parking lot. For the last 3 years, it's been in the street. We've scaled it to a point that we know this works. We know what the costs are and all that. So we are totally fine obtaining special event policy and continuing to work with the DDA. And that's why they just have the resolution to keep it a co-sponsored event. And
Okay. Let's go questions. Councilmember Peltonen.
I don't really have any questions, I'm sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
No questions, other than I spent copious amounts of money at it last year, and I plan to do the same this year, too, so looking forward to it.
Let's go Councilmember Rankovich.
I read through the MOU. Thank you for sending that over. That was really great. Appreciate that. And I don't really have any other
So let's
questions.
pause that.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
memorandum of understanding
Yeah.
that was
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
subsequently sent.
I'm using an
Wasn't part of-
acronym.
It was not part of the packet.
Correct, yes.
And
I can touch on
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
just
if you don't
because
mind,
if
please.
We're getting, if
Thank
we're
you.
getting organized and
Yeah.
because the fact in the past with the DDA, it's like, oh yeah, we got it, we'll go deal with city. We're just trying to create a framework of this is what the festival is. We've reached a point where it's like, we're not looking to grow it. We know what it exists. We know how we operate with the DDA. And it is just a memorandum of understanding, so we're all kind of on the same page. Because in the past, there's been questions, what's Clawsonfest? What is all that? So let's just kind of put that to bed by saying that this is the structure. It's a partnership between, an LLC, the DDA, the city, and let's have a fun time and bring people into the downtown.
so with your memorandum
Memorandum of understanding.
that thing, and Mr. Nushai is rightly getting the microphone because he knows that if that was something they would look to have executed, that would be a whole separate negotiation between you.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Wouldn't it just be adopted by the council as just acknowledgement, as opposed, it's not a legal thing, it's basically saying. this-
Memorandum of Understanding?
Yeah,
No,
this
I haven't
is-
seen what you've produced, I apologize.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just, I don't think
It's a basic, this is Clawsonfest, it's an LLC, the DDA, we're working together. It's basically talking about the partnership between the DDA and Clawsonfest. And it's just putting it out there. So it's nothing that, it's not like a legal binding document, it's just, we're all on the same page. And the council and administration can figure out whatever process works best for that.
Yeah, I trust you at your word.
Yeah.
Implicitly, I have no reason to doubt you. However, any legal document that this body signs has to be generated by yours truly or the a person inhabiting this position and reviewed before it gets presented to council in public fashion, by way of an agenda item. So it may be simplistic, and I assure you, I'll take you at your word, and all I'll do, and I'll promise to do this, I'll make it better, not worse.
So would Mr. Nushai, would the proper steps, if we approve the application for the event tonight, then we could also direct you to review and negotiate or whatever, how would you take up that memorandum of understanding?
Oh, that's perfectly fine, and we'll bring it back down, at a later time with respect to it. Because obviously and forgive me, I don't know anything about it.
I know you don't, I know, but I just want to know, like, what do we need to motion? What do we need to make sure it goes into place?
Along with whatever motion that you're going to adopt for purposes of the meeting, you can say and direct the city attorney to,
Work with them to
negotiate.
get that, okay, all right.
With the DDA, we work with the DDA, DDA works with the city is kind of how it used to work. And we're fine with whatever process works out for everybody.
So to execute that would be a separate thing that would happen in the event the application was approved, then we would motion to have that go through the proper channels but.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's all about transparency and just so we're all on the same page.
Yep, gotcha. All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to blow up your spot with that one. It was just really, it was nicely laid out, so hopefully it'll be great when it gets to run. So, but it was nicely done in terms of presentation for us, so we could understand, again, the transparency of it and the insurance portion too. So I think that was the topic here. So, but thank you. We love Clawsonfest, so.
Councilmember Slowinski.
I saw the DDA meeting, and I appreciate you guys working together and with the city and administration. And I'm looking forward to the Clawsonfest, so thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Councilmember Spishak.
Yeah, I'd echo the same thing. I, have volunteered in the past, and I look forward to volunteering this year.
Councilmember Tinlin.
One, I just appreciate all the emails I got on this topic, so I got highly educated after 10 days. But also, I really appreciate the collaboration between all the departments. And the only other question I had is more just on that motion. Do we have to amend that to add that?
I'm not sure that the motion of the occurrence is on the table.
Is it on the table or no?
Discussion.
Discussion, okay,
This is
thank
just
you.
for discussion. So after we have our discussion, then we can make a motion about, if we want to make a motion to approve the application. But one topic I want to make sure that we all get our opinions out on the floor about is this issue in regard to cost recovery. And I think I know it's a big item. I know it's something that the administration is very passionate about it. I feel like I'm sort of equally passionate about it in that, one of the reasons that I ran for mayor is because I believe how special Clawson is, and it's a special place, and there's, people don't go, I live in Sterling Heights, but people go, I live in Clawson, and part of our DNA is the 4th of July, and part of our DNA is now the Clawsonfest and the car show and the fireworks, and those are things that are part of what helps make Clawson special, helps bind us all together. We all have a memory of I remember the first Clawsonfest, and my boys were in town from Chicago, and I'm a picky eater, and there wasn't a single thing of food I would eat but we all have these common memories, and that's part of who Clawson is. And to that extent, I don't like the idea of putting any burdens on any of those events so that they can't do the things that they do. And one of the things that I know Clawsonfest does, and they talked a lot about it at the DDA meeting, was all the charitable works that they do. So yes, technically they're not an LLC, they're not a nonprofit organization, but they take those monies and they do super cool things with it. They talked about the kid that they gave the opportunity to take photographs, and they used some of the money and bought a really nice camera. Now he wants to be a photographer. Like Clawsonfest is changing lives, for goodness sake, right? So I would love to see us not burden any of those festivals with demanding any kind of cost recovery, because, yeah, it's an expense to the city, but it's part of the heart of what the city is. So I just want to go ahead and have a discussion and get everyone's opinion on how we feel about the proposition of cost recovery and how we want to make our motion to include or exclude that in a demand for the application. So, yes, sir.
If I can make a suggestion, so I think that from a legal perspective, there's probably some more internal dialogue in regard, and I whether you guys subsidize it or don't, irrelevant to me. My concern is that we do this so that it can be replicated for the next petitioner, because there is another petitioner coming up right behind them to do something. So then, if you look at the first paragraph, the last line, where it says recommend approval of the event subject to the following conditions, and 1 through 5, not to say number 5, a potential cost recovery may apply. That is something that will come forth through the MOU, I would think, if there is a need for something like that. So, and I think we have to have some more internal dialogue to establish some type of parity policy so that you don't pick them as a winner and somebody else as a loser. Or you don't make the blanket statement that we will subsidize all comers.
I could also make just one quick comment. It's not about profit, it's about transparency, so the council is aware of all the city services that we're utilizing. Just so you know, hey, it's X amount of dollars from DPW, it's X amount of dollars from the police department, city administration, and things like that. So it's not necessarily about profit, or that we would even have to recover, the total cost. It's just so that the numbers are out there for transparency's sake, so everybody has the same info.
And I would say I appreciate the transparency, but I would rather we spend all of our money on Clawsonfest and 4th of July and the car show than on ridiculous contracts.
To that point, just for your awareness, and I think you were part of the conversation, we do have a budget line item for like the 4th of July. So then this would be something to be considered, like, all right, do we increase that line item in the future?
And there was something that someone else suggested, that instead of trying to get a cost recovery, that we assign a fee for permitting and that kind of stuff. So I think that there's lots of avenues for us to, treat everyone the same and be transparent and address this. But because we don't have time to do new permitting things and all that kind of stuff, Mr. Nushai, what is the most appropriate way for, if we approve this application, to either, have, if any cost recovery, put the stipulation that would have to be supported by the city council before it was levied, or how do we keep that without going, like, I don't want it to be a burden on them, like, oh, we don't know if we're going to get an $8,000 bill at the end. Like, we need it to be transparent. Everyone needs to be on the same page and agree with what that number should be, if a number is there at all. I ask you a lot of questions, a whole diatribe.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I don't know that I have an answer on account of the fact that I don't know what the costs are. I imagine that, yes, and I'll speak as to the ones that I'm aware of, which is obviously every time we have an event, and I know you will remember that Chief Baus has come here with respect to the addition of the one extra day, or the consideration of adding more than one extra day, the imposition upon the officers, the shifts, added obligations, costs therein. Obviously, those are all considerations. As to how we draft it legally, well, obviously, with respect to the MOU, whatever that is, I'll work within that framework. I'll develop it there.
I don't
but
think you can.
the city manager is correct. I mean, we articulate a standard, whether we want to or not, that will apply to every other applicant that comes in. And we do have some language, obviously, in our permitting that sort of guides behavior with respect to everyone. I would imagine that we would include that there. We would articulate what those costs are to the best of our ability, which I leave the rest of the administration to talk about. But you would include it there so that it's a part of everyone's application going forward.
So, Sean, I read the memo of understanding in a very cursory fashion because I had a lot of things blow up at work today. But I believe in that you specifically identify expectations, or I guess, so correct is that it's outlined in your memorandum. So, Mr. Nushai, as opposed to, don't pass notes, as opposed to us trying to codify something with our motion or any kind of gyrations that I try and propose here, is it best to leave it within, since we're doing a memorandum of understanding, is it best to leave it to that for them to negotiate and then come back to council with?
I don't believe so, personally. I think you can approve it, with the
We
conditions.
approve the application, but I'm concerned about the cost recovery and how we be transparent and come to a definitive answer on that.
I think that, if I remember correctly on the item, that is, it speaks to a potential cost recovery.
Well, and potential, I mean, I, again, potentially could be marrying George Clooney, you don't know. So, I mean, how do we?
I wish it upon everyone, including myself.
I mean.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
The MOU originally was to go to the DDA, and then the DDA said, this really should go before council. So it's kind of like, we just want to get a framework of what this is about. And like in the cover letter of that, and we talked about it at the DDA, we looked at the last few years, on average, annually, we're spending $12,000 in advertising. And that's not just promo, that's destination marketing for Clawson. So when we looked at it, and it was like, oh, this is a co-sponsored event, and it was co-sponsored events wouldn't have cost recoveries necessarily. So I understand where you guys are coming from, trying to figure out how this applies to everything. But the bottom line is that as a small festival that we're putting on top of everything that we're doing in our lives, our jobs, our families, everything, we want to do this festival. We want people to come out. We want to bring people into the downtown for one day to turn into a marketplace. And we've been told it's the best day for some of these businesses. So I think the city does need to look at it. What kind of investment do they want to make into it? And I think it comes down to the city services. And that's where in our MOU, we kind of laid it out to say, we're going to work with the DDA, but we want the DDA, if there's any cost recovery, to figure it out with the city.
Okay.
So,
All right, I've talked enough. Any other comments? Let me just look. Any other comments? Any other comments? All right, so we've had our discussion. Any other comments? Anyone cut anyone off? Okay. So the next would be if someone wants to make a motion on the application.
I make a motion to approve the special event application for Clawsonfest to be held on August 22nd, 2026.
Approve, or second. Tired.
And Mr. Nushai, would it make sense to ask Mr. Spishak to amend his motion to include the memorandum of understanding as negotiation, or should that be a separate thing all on its own?
And I imagine add these conditions, I believe, right? If Mr. Spishak would be so kind, I imagine adding the conditions as well as directing the city attorney to negotiate the memorandum of understanding as drafted for us.
Yeah, the conditions, the 1 through 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do they need to be broken out specifically, or?
I think you can
As
reference.
listed in the agenda.
As listed in the agenda. Oh, I will make a motion to amend my original motion to add the 1 through 5 listed in the agenda, and to have Mr. Nushai go over the MOU.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yep.
Support. So just for I feel inclined to vote no because of number 5, and I would rather number 5 be addressed with the memo of understanding than making it conditioned on accepting the application. Tell me why I'm wrong. Go ahead.
No, with respect, that's precisely how I understood it, that I would negotiate that.
Okay, so these are all things that will be negotiated in the memo of
Well, I
understanding.
imagine 1 through 4 would be somewhat differently. I don't.
Because like 4 is a done deal. It's already happened.
Precisely, but with respect to the MOUs, or pardon me, the potential cost recovery, that would be something that we would talk about as part of our conversation.
So voting yes doesn't say, I like the potential of cost recovery. It says, yes, please talk about it when you guys talk.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. All right, okay, thank you. That's why we talk, right? All right, any other, you guys? Mr. Riker?
Yes, just for everyone's understanding, the number 4, the DDA shall formally support the event through resolution. In the past, that had not occurred.
But we did that on the 15th.
Right, I'm saying in the past.
Oh, in the
previously.
past, oh, it wasn't a thing.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. Right, yeah, yeah.
No, there was no record of a.
I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure.
Positive too, because we checked the minutes and it was not in there.
So look at us righting all the wrongs of the past
We were
today.
told
We're doing,
things
we got the
and now this is
ordinances, we're
right.
just like pushing back the
Can I ask a
frontiers of
question?
things that didn't happen. Yes, we're still having discussion.
Okay. Point 2, number 2 on this list, maybe our insurance person can speak to this about all vendors shall execute a hold harmless. Can you speak on that one a little bit? I'm actually a vendor. I've never been asked to hold this type of certification at any festival that I've ever been at, so, ever. So if you could speak to this, that would be
Can you
great.
come to the mic? Come to the mic, Mr. Potter.
And I've been to lots and lots and lots and lots of festivals as a
Okay.
vendor.
And I handle insurance for 170 governmental entities in the state of Michigan. Most of them do that.
Okay.
When I say most, sometimes I don't hear about them. And
Government entities, you
the
said, or-
governmental entity might
Okay.
have an event.
Okay, okay.
Typically, one of my recommendations is work with your corporate legal counsel, whether it's city, county, whatever. And yes, there should be hold harmless indemnification. And that becomes more important probably for the, I think one of the things we talked about were, some ladies got together and made some doilies and they're going to sell them for $5. Do I think that's a risk big enough to demand that they have insurance? No. But do I want to protect the city as best I can in case something happens? Maybe not with the doily, but with how they're going about doing it, whatever. Yeah, I do. And I think it's something that we work with the city attorney to make sure that it's an appropriate indemnification.
Okay.
One of of the examples that we had was at the Clawson Market, there were tents almost like flying through the air.
Mhm.
And so it's just the vendors acknowledging the responsibility of,
Okay.
that's not on
Yeah.
the city.
Got it.
But now, those types of vendors, we would want insurance from. Food trucks.
Of course, yeah.
We want insurance from them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got it.
Remember, Madam Mayor, if I may, remember, council member, that sometimes we find ourselves in situations, as you're aware, where a particular, a person that attends a particular vendor's area and goes to be a customer of that particular vendor, if something were to happen to the vendor, even in area, in the area belonging to the vendor, they would be responsible.
These are agreements. They're not like additional insurances or anything like that on the vendor? Or this is just an agreement for the vendor? Or is this?
Hold harmless, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
A hold harmless and indemnification agreement, that item number 2, that's what those are.
Okay.
They say that whatever happens in their area of purview, in their area of control,
Mhm.
they're responsible for. And if we're sued as a necessary party, which often, not often, but we're a necessary party,
Mhm.
it happens all the time, 100% of the time, then they would pay our fees, they would cover our costs, whatever judgment is issued, they would cover it.
In that area or space?
In that
Yeah.
space, within their
Got it.
control.
Got
that's
it.
what this is.
Thank you both.
Ms. Cook?
Yes, just to add to that,
Mhm.
it's possible, I'm not saying in all cases, but we've discussed this as having this added to the application for the vendors. It's not a separate it's not a separate document. I'm in the process of, I talked to the city attorney today, we're gonna figure out what that hold harmless clause is going to be, and suggest it to be added to the application process of all of our special events, not just the Clawsonfest. We're not just picking on them. We have vendors at almost every event that happens, and this is something that probably should have been done. Some of our other events use a disclaimer on the bottom that won't, like it's just a sentence. We want to include the hold harmless based on our insurance carrier, that we put that in the application. So it is possible maybe you sign something in your.
And I was just gonna say that, it was probably somewhere in there, it wasn't a separate document. That's just why I'm like waiting for this big yellow sheet or something in a form, and I'm like, I've never seen one of these before. There's probably a little clause or something in there, so, thank you, that makes sense.
Just to clarify that that's what we're working on.
Yep.
It is a work in progress, and that's where we hope to be. We'll obviously work for the Clawsonfest on that application, hold harmless, if we can get that added. I've been talking to a couple of other special event, we have the Lions, the car show coming up on 4th of July. We've talked to both of those entities already about that. So we're moving forward with this all the way around. It's not just the Clawsonfest.
Yep, I just want to see it from all sides, just want to make sure, thank you.
All right, before I call roll call, could you just read back the whole motion, just so we all know, because there's been a lot of
So
discussion.
I have it, and just to clarify, I know Councilmember Spisak gave the motion, Councilmember Rakovich supported, but it
first
really was
one.
just amendment to your own motion. So are we gonna stay with the second of Councilmember Rakovich, or Councilmember Sawinski second the amendment?
The amendment.
So it's not two motions, he's amending his original motion. So just for clarity on my side,
Yeah, Mr. Newshine, any,
whoever
amended
will
his
claim
own-
that amendment.
Council
and support it.
Councilmember Spisak amended his own motion, which we could stay with the first.
okay, so it would be with Councilmember Rankovic.
So the motion I have is consideration of a special event application for Clawsonfest to be held on August 22nd, 2026, and to direct city administration to review the memorandum of understanding with the following 5 items and that listed in your preparation. The Clawsonfest LLC shall obtain and provide a certificate of special event insurance. All vendors shall execute a hold harmless and indemnification agreement. All food vendors and any vendors presenting a higher level of risk shall provide a certificate of insurance naming the city of Clawson as additional insured. The DDA shall formally support the event through a resolution, and a potential cost recovery requirement may apply.
All right.
Is how I have the motion.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Felton,
Yes.
Councilmember Rakovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spisak,
Yes.
Councilmember Finland,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Roy?
Yes.
All right, we have just approved the special event application for Clawsonfest to be held on August 22nd, 2026, and directed there to be a discussion and negotiations over the member of understanding. Thank you, everybody, for all your patience as you listen to all of our other stuff this evening. I appreciate you all. All right, next we have unfinished business, which is on the agenda, but we have none, so we'll move on to public comment for items not on the agenda. I invite anyone who would like to speak to items not on the agenda. We ask that you state your name and whether you live in Gloucester or not. We will afford you 4 minutes, and as you know, it's not a back and forth, but we'll try and address any comments that you bring up during our subsequent parts of the meeting. Thank you.
All right, Jamie Gillis Takanuchi, Clawson resident. I'm here to talk about tonight about the expiration of the city attorney's contract. The contract appears to have reached its conclusion 1 year ago in January 2025. Furthermore, there was a 2021 council mandate requiring a competitive bidding process and RFP at the end of that contract, and that has not been fulfilled as far as I can tell. I did send an email to all of council last Thursday. I have references to where you can find the contract, the meeting minutes. I know you have been here for 2 months and you are catching up on all sorts of things that happened before you. So hopefully that will help you find a place to start to look at this. The core issue is that the 2021 agreement is expired and it lacks a holdover clause. There's nothing extending it month to month. In contract law, without such a provision, an agreement does not automatically roll over, it terminates. While some may argue that the continued provision of services and payment constitutes an implied agreement, Michigan law and the Clawson City Charter are quite strict regarding municipal expenditures. Under the Michigan Constitution, Article 7, Section 26, and Clawson Charter, Section 5.07, public funds generally must be expended through formal written authority. Think of the contract as the legal bridge between taxpayer funds and professional services. Because that bridge reached its expiration date a year ago, the city is currently operating in a legal vacuum. This creates two specific risks. First, unauthorized expenditures, as the city lacks a council-approved fee schedule to authorize payments. And second, liability gaps, as attorney-client privilege and malpractice insurance are typically tied to authorized contracted services. I do specifically want to address Mayor Milan here during those 2020. I am so sorry, Mayor Moffett. I would specifically like to, I'm sorry, it's a new title for you. If I said council person, I would have got it right. Mayor Moffett for the stand she took during the 2021 deliberations. At that time, she was a vocal advocate for transparency, arguing that the city must follow its own procurement procedures and conduct an RFP as directed by the previous council action. She voted no against the 4-year contract, not because she had concerns about Mr. Nushai, but because she prioritized proper procedure over immediate appointment and thought transparency was important. I hope that this body will build upon the foundation that Mayor Moffett set during that meeting. Finally, my review of the record indicates that while there was a motion that directed the city manager to negotiate a contract, the final executed document was never brought back to council for a vote, which might also be a concern. If I have missed, there's a whole lot of meetings between 21 and now. If I've missed anything, if there is an extension, I would love for you to bring that to my attention. And since I have 40 seconds left, I just want to address what I think is some misleading information. I asked to be put on the Words of Inspiration list on August 11th, 2025. I was told that I was. Never once has the city reached out to me to ask me to participate in that. The only time I spoke, it's because the agenda was empty. I reached out that morning and I did not hear back until 5 o'clock that day that I could do it. 11 out of 12 have been Christian. Almost 70% have been from Grace Church. Mine is the only non-Christian ever given since that date.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to items not on the agenda?
Okay, my name is Diane, and I do live in Clawson. Last Wednesday, I was out all day. Places closed because of the snow. I want to commend our DPW. They were on it, and I didn't have any fear driving or walking. So I just want that known, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to speak to items not on the agenda?
Hello again. Good evening. Again, I will speak to items not on the agenda, I promise. My name is Ramsey Corey. I've been a Clawson resident now for about 2 years. I was one of the new construction homes on Broadacre Avenue. I'm grateful to be a part of the city. My wife has been born and raised here in Clawson. Now, there is one thing that I want to bring to the attention of this city council. It's something that I wrestle with. It's something that my neighbor wrestles with, even folks on Bywood. And it's the millage rate that we're dealing with, the taxes of our city. To contextualize, to give you a number, I pay $14,780 a year in property tax to live in Clawson. I love our DPW, don't get me wrong, but I have driven on Broadacre multiple times. There is no salt, there is no plowing, none of that. And don't get me wrong, I know Elmwood is a priority, it's an emergency road. I wholeheartedly get that. So in my case, what I'm wondering, what my neighbor's wondering is, hey, what about even our assessments? I can tell you right now that the assessed value of my home is more than what I pay in my mortgage. For instance, if you look at the record, public record, it's at $310,000. The assessed value is half of what they are assessing your house for. Mine is over that. The assessed value is over what the mortgages amount. So I don't know what the future outlook is to bring down our tax rate as a city. I know that we're building a lot of new homes. I know that folks are moving into the city daily. I shouldn't say daily, but on a monthly term. If the average cost of a new house in Clawson is, say, $350,000, everybody's battling that same millage rate. And so if the goal is to bring a younger population into Clawson, to support the schools, to support, having a younger median age, the current tax burden is very high, and it doesn't promote people moving into the city. My fear is that the new houses that are being built, it's really going to price out the starter families that are trying to get a house to begin with. I just want to put that out there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to items not on the agenda? All right, seeing no one else getting up, we will move to the city clerk's report.
Thank you. Just going to give a quick report on our boards and commissions. We're getting to that point. I did speak with the mayor on the process going forward. I think we have a plan for that. But we are still in need of a few vacancies. I hope to be able to present. I did send out the application for the board of review. So there are three that were seated on the board of review have reapplied. I was waiting for them all to come in. And then, of course, the mayor will let me know if that's ready to go on the agenda. So we do have a March board review coming up, so it's kind of a little bit of maybe a little bit of urgency to get someone in those seats. There's 2 vacant alternate seats in the zoning board of appeals. And then we have the open ethics, the board of ethics seat, which we're working on that one as well. So just keep in mind that, if anybody has anybody interested, to make sure they fill out an application and get it out to us. We will forward them on to the council and to the mayor for consideration.
All right.
And that's on my report tonight.
And I will make a commitment to talk to you at the beginning of next week so we can button it up and make sure everybody has everything they need for the next council meeting, okay? So let the record be shown. All right. And then the Board of Review job is specifically to have discussions about people's tax assessment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so that would be the avenue for someone to take, would be to, and how does the community know when the Board of Review is, like, what's the process if someone wants their house reassessed? Do you know?
Well, there's a notice that would go out. Our assessor is in-house, I believe, on Tuesdays, every week.
Oh.
For the most part, so someone is welcome to come and speak to the assessor directly. We have a company that handles that. They could maybe help guide you through that process. The Board of Review is a process of all communities, where you can bring your information to them and they will review it to see if you're being overtaxed or overassessed. They take a look at the surrounding properties and so forth. So that is the avenue to take it if you have a concern, and maybe take it there and see what they, so the board will just hear the complaint or the information presented, and then, bring that forward if it needs to be changed.
So you said the assessor's here every Tuesday. If someone wanted to come in, oh, go ahead, Nick.
Yes, I just want to make a note. That is correct, that they are here in office every Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. I will note they're not going to be in the office next Tuesday.
Of course.
I just want to make sure that's clear, that people aren't showing up next Tuesday, but there is an email that goes directly to the folks that work with us from AAS. It's just assessing@cityofclawson.com. If you send them an email, they'll be able to get in touch with you and talk to you about anything property tax wise.
So would you recommend, so do you just wander in, or should you make an appointment, or you should send an email and say, hey, I want to talk to you, what's the best avenue?
I think an email would be great starters, but
Okay.
generally outside of next Tuesday, they're here in the office at City Hall.
Perfect. Thank you very much, both of you. All right. Thank you, Michelle, very much. City Attorney's report.
Madam Mayor, I'll just quickly respond to the gentleladies for your edification, to the extent that anyone is interested, with your permission. I don't have otherwise, a report. Chapter 18 of our lovely charter, which is the transition chapter, has among others section 18.05, which dealt with the transitions of all the city's appointees, employees, contractees, whatever the case may be. And with respect to the city attorney, it states the city attorney's duties commence on the effective date of this charter, which was, if you recall, Madam Mayor, the effective date of this charter on section 18.08 took effect on January 1st, 2024. That, on account of the fact that yours truly does business with this lovely city on account of a contract, means that it re-triggers the date of the contract beginning January 1st, 2024. So the 4-year period triggers on that date. That's the reason why you haven't seen that contract come up before you, or the body hasn't seen the contract before you. And that's the reason why, whatever the calculation is with respect to that date, you will see it then and make determinations as to how you proceed.
So I'm not an attorney, and I don't play one on TV. The actual wording here is, so I have, it's, as you said, it's 18.05 municipal ordinances, and the wording in regard to the city attorney, it says the city attorney's duties commence on the effective date of the charter. Can you explain to me in layman's terms how your duties commencing on the effective date of the charter trigger the contract?
My duties to the city are designed by the contract. That's the only way we do business.
Okay, so it's, the duties is synonymous with your...
It is, because simply by the fact that that's how our relation, I'm not an employee of the city.
Okay.
Right, so my duties will not be a data hire. There's no such thing.
Is that the operative issue here, that you are not an employee of the city? So by virtue of your duties solely being in place because of the contract, that contract renews that, and that's why it adds 4 years onto the contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Even though the contract just says 4 years, it doesn't specify any dates or anything.
Well, certainly the contract specifies dates.
Okay.
But it re-triggers the duties based on the contract, the beginning of the contract, right?
It says 4
re-triggers
years.
the period.
Okay.
Is what it does.
Okay, all right, so that's the explanation of why that's that. Okay. What else do you have to tell us?
Oh, nothing else, thank you. I think
That's
I've
enough?
spoken enough today.
You're tired of us? All right, thank you. Excellent. City managers report.
Thank you, Mayor. Starting off with construction, actually just talking only about construction. Elmwood, all concrete's in the ground. Remediation of any cracks or defects along with easement restoration will be completed in the spring. Transitioning to Rochester Road, a reminder, all new water main pipes are in the ground. Tying in the new pipes to the existing water distribution system has been slowed due to weather. This will cause water service interruption along Rochester Road. Impacted areas will be notified in advance until completion of this project. Reminder, this project is a new pipe and upgrade from a 6-inch to an 8-inch in conjunction with the road diet resurfacing that will occur this spring. Tomorrow, we will be opening bids for the water main replacement on West Maple. You can expect a recommendation to award a contract to be on an agenda in February. Pending any questions, that's my brief.
All right, I don't think I have anything else for you. So we will move to council comments. Where to start? Let's start with Councilmember Peltonen.
I don't really have too much, except I just want to sort of put out there, ask if the police chief or who, we've had a few people concerned with ICE operations in Clawson, and I just want to put out there that I am curious to see what protocol is, what the plan is. That's just a concern of mine, and that's all I have today.
Mr. Riker, would you recommend that council members with questions like that send an email to the chief and CC you?
I think on this one, Rennis, what are your thoughts that you would be involved in this?
That's true on account of the fact that we don't have a policy per se at this point in time. There are several policies that affect our Clawson PD's engagement with agencies above and beyond our own, obviously. Nothing specific to immigration, to answer your question. I don't think immigration enforcement, as you may be aware, is twofold. Has a judicial/criminal component, right, that operates by way of judicial warrants, arrest warrants, things of that nature, and there's a civil immigration component to it. I imagine you're asking with respect to civil immigration enforcement, because on the judicial portion, our obligations are clear. There'd be no way for us to affect those. There's standing laws with respect to agency cooperation agreements and things of that nature that they're well designed by way of law. Civil enforcement, we don't engage in, that I'm aware of, and Clawson would have no such concerns.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly give a statement on my opinion on the contract since it was brought up today. I was not on council when that contract was negotiated or approved, and candidly, it is not a contract I would have supported. In my view, it was a very generous agreement that favored the city manager more than it favored us, the city. I also want to be clear that I strongly disagree with the previous council's decision to call a special meeting to approve this contract just before we were all seated. While that action was legal, I believe it was poor judgment and deprived the incoming council of the opportunity to weigh in on a long-term and consequential decision for the city. With that being said, the facts still matter. That contract was lawfully negotiated, reviewed by our city attorney, and legally approved by a lawfully constituted council. There's no indication that it is invalid, improper, or unlawful. While I understand why residents are frustrated and why some have called for outside legal opinions, I do not believe it is productive for this council to spend the next 2 years relitigating a contract that is legal and binding. Our responsibility now is restoring trust through better processes and ensuring that future employment agreements better reflect the city's interests and values. With that being said, thanks everyone for coming tonight. I'm looking forward to doing my MML onboarding training this Thursday. So I want to thank city manager and the city clerk for getting me all signed up there. And that's all from me tonight.
Thank you so much. Let's go Councilmember Rinkovich.
wasn't sure where you were
I
going.
know, I'm just going to
I was
mix it
like,
up, keep you on your toes.
So yesterday I had the chance to attend the MLK Day of Service at Clawson High School. It was called a day on, not a day off. So I got to hang out with students and families and other neighbors from not just Clawson, but Royal Oak and Berkeley school districts were there. It was really cool and very meaningful. Just a reminder of how much good is out there when people come together to serve one another and to do it together. So I know it's a really heavy time in a lot of communities. One, it's really cold out, but there's a lot of uncertainty that people are feeling, and there's a lot of broader conversations reaching our doorstep. So there's just a lot of heaviness on people's minds right now. And I want residents to know that City Council is here for everyone who calls Clawson home. I'm truly grateful to those who continue to show up for our city. And I hope we leave tonight committed to caring for one another and staying connected as a community. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Councilmember Slawinski.
Well, I was going to talk about the city manager's contract because I didn't get to finish what I was saying earlier. But I can say that I understand it a lot better now that we've talked tonight, and I want to mirror what Aiden said. So sorry, Aiden, but thank you for putting all that together. And that's pretty much it. I just want to continue to let the residents know that we are here for you. We appreciate you reaching out, and just continue to do that. And thank you for the administration for putting together our meetings and being prepared. That's appreciated. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Spishak.
I'd like to echo Councilmember Slawinski's, sentiment. I think that it's important. I'm happy to see people continuing to reach out, continuing to send those emails. I'd also like to say thank you for bearing with me this past week. I had some dental issues, which were not fun to deal with, and that put me a little behind, but I'm hopefully caught up on all my emails. So thank you.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Last but not least, right, so I'd like to thank all the citizens that participated in the SMS text survey that I had sponsored through the goodparty.org. It's just another way to try to get feedback from many citizens that don't attend the meetings. I've shared that report with the council members, and I'll share it with the community as well. And maybe it's just a tool that we'll talk about potential use in upcoming meetings. And the last thing is just, there's been a couple dialogues on the millage analysis that was done by a candidate in the last election on shortfalls. I've actually asked that gentleman to send me the analysis because I'm a financial guy. I'd just like to see what levers he had done to calculate that shortfall. And that's just really getting me prepared for the upcoming budget. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I would like to also thank Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke for his eloquence. I think that you succinctly summed up what a lot of us feel about the situation, so thank you for doing that. I want to do a plug for the Chamber's euchre on January 29th, because we all know I dig euchre, and it's a lot of fun. So if you want to play euchre and you got some cash to spend, please come join euchre with us. It's a good time. I want to especially thank Mr. Nushai for allowing me to beat him up tonight, because I feel like I pelted you with a lot of questions, but I appreciate your partnership and getting, I think we had a lot of really substantive conversations, got a lot of good information out. And of course, I want to thank each and every one of you who came out, who sat through all of this, those who speak, those who don't, those who send us emails. I really value the community's engagement. I also was at the day on, not day out, off yesterday, and I want to thank the schools, not only of Clawson, but Berkeley, and it was Royal Oak, right? Berkeley, Royal Oak, yeah, that put it together. It was a really, really cool event, and it was great to see so many people there. So that was a great event for our community to be the ones hosting that. It just, again, showed that Clawson's, we're a vibrant community that cares about each other, and I think that's really, really important. So having said all that, thank you for listening with us. Thank you for those who hung with us this long, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Someone.
Support.
Any discussion? Let's have a roll call, please.
Yes.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you so much. See you in 2 weeks.
I went through the procedure already.